Representing the government this morning, Bridget Phillipson, Education Secretary, good to see you. Thoughts on the passing of Liam Payne?
It's very sad news. It's no age for someone to lose their life, and my thoughts are with his friends and family. It must be a total shock for them and very, very upsetting.
Absolutely. And also away in a different country, not able to get to him. His poor mother, can't even begin to imagine. He's got a little boy just 7 years old.
To lose anyone at that age, but especially in such terrible circumstances, it is really heartbreaking, and it must be incredibly difficult right now for his family and friends, and my thoughts are with them at what must be a really difficult time.
Absolutely. Tell us about your plans, first of all, for school-based nurseries.
So when I said that early years and childcare was my number one priority, I meant it, and that's why we're getting on with delivering on our commitment. What I'm announcing today is that schools can bid to open nurseries within primary schools. We've set out some money aside for that. That will create 300 new primary-based nurseries, and that will create places, thousands of places, right across our country so that children get a great start in life.
OK. I have to ask you about, we haven't spoken since you were accused of negative messaging with a tweet where you said, let me just read it in detail, if I may. You said, our state schools need teachers more than private schools need embossed stationery. Our children need mental health support more than private schools need new pools. Our students need careers advice more than private schools need AstroTurf pitches. Can you see how that would be divisive?
My priority as Education Secretary is how I deliver high and rising standards in our state schools. That's what I'm focused on. And in order to do that, in the very tough environment that we have at the moment where it comes to the public finances, we need to raise additional funds to do it. So we are ending the tax breaks that private schools enjoy, and we'll invest money in our public services to make sure that children get a great start in life.
I understand that, but would you write that tweet in the same way again?
This reflects back what others have said in terms of the choices that they feel private schools might have to consider. I know that state schools, where the vast majority of your viewers will be sending their children to school, have had to confront some really difficult questions over the last decade or so in terms of how they manage their budgets. They've done so in incredibly challenging circumstances, and I think in that context it relates to the commentary that others were offering around what VAT changes would mean for private schools. I think private schools can adjust accordingly in order to manage.
So you stand by those words?
Yeah.
OK. What's going to happen to your budget after the budget?
Well, this is obviously a process that's underway at the moment, a little under a fortnight, and the Chancellor will be setting out her budget statement to the House of Commons. There are some difficult choices that we're all having to confront. The last Conservative government left a terrible mess around the public finances, a big black hole, and we need to fix the foundations of our economy. But we know...
The economy's doing quite well at the moment, isn't it? Inflation's down, isn't it?
Well, that's encouraging, of course. It's encouraging for families and for households, but there's a lot more that we need to do, a lot further that we need to go. If you look at, schools and hospitals, for example, we've inherited lots and lots of problems. The same is true right across the public services. And I know that there's a great deal of work that has to go on around growth and jobs so that in every corner of our country, people have the chance to get on. And that's why it was so encouraging on Monday. We had the investment summit led by the Prime Minister, where investors and global businesses were coming and, in a show of strength in our country and in our economy, we're investing once more. And I think that demonstrates the benefits that come of having a stable government.
People like Steve Reid, I believe, from DEFRA, Angela Rayner, Deputy Prime Minister, also Housing, Shabana Mahmood, Justice, Louise Haigh, Transport, have all written to the Prime Minister, we're told, to say that these cuts are too far and too fast. Have you written to him?
We've all had conversations, meetings, correspondence as part of the usual budget process. I'm not going to get into a discussion about meetings or private conversations that we have both within Cabinet and as part of our Cabinet responsibilities. That wouldn't be a responsible thing to do.
What about the other four?
Look, you don't have long to wait for the budget. It's under a fortnight. As part of that process, we as Cabinet Ministers have conversations with the Treasury, with others, in order to get to a good settlement on all of that. That's absolutely as it should be. That's all part of the normal way of doing things.
OK. I was chatting to Lord Cameron yesterday about a wide-ranging list of things, including his little boy who died at the age of just 6, whether or not he told Boris Johnson that he would... an expletive that I can't say here on the telly about Brexit, and also about Israel. This is what he said about Israel.
And we've just had, 2 missile attacks from Iran into Israel, and we're trying to help prevent that from happening using our own planes and military. It seems to me utterly bizarre to be doing that while banning some arms exports from Britain to Israel. So I think a better approach is to look at the sanctions.
Is that something that this government will do again, look at those sanctions?
We, of course, as a government, always keep these issues under review. We have, for example, suspended a number of export licences where we were concerned about the implications there.
He says that's tinkering around the edges.
Well, I mean, I think if you asked David Cameron when he were Prime Minister or Foreign Secretary his views, I think he would get a similar response to the one I'm giving you now, which is that when you're in government, you have to look at these things very carefully, soberly, and it's different outside of government.
He was Lord
wouldn't have offered that level. I don't think he would have offered you that level of commentary
He made
from
those
government.
comments when he was Foreign Secretary, and he's doubling down on them now. He's saying these sanctions need to be put in place for two men in the Israeli cabinet who basically have advocated for food not going into Gaza.
And those comments were completely unacceptable. But to the wider question that he raises, the government, of course, keeps these matters under consideration, as you would expect. We do want to see more aid going into Gaza. We do want to see an immediate ceasefire. And we want to move towards a process of a two-state solution, which admittedly does feel very, very distant at the moment.
So am I taking from that, Secretary of State, that this government will look again at suggestions of sanctions against two politicians in Israel?
These are matters for the government overall. For the Foreign Secretary, we keep them all under review, of course we do. Our immediate focus is the release of hostages, the need to get aid into Gaza and to move towards an immediate ceasefire. That's where we will continue to focus our efforts as a government, working with others, because, of course, this is not something that we as a government can do alone.
OK, so we don't know what this government's going to do as far as that is concerned. I also did just ask you about cronyism, Emily Middleton's links to the Prime Minister. Not disclosed when she was appointed to the Department of Science and Technology as a civil servant. She donated a whopping £66,000 to the party in the past. What should we take from that?
That there is an expectation on all of us as Cabinet Ministers, as members of the government, that we make sure we're fully disclosing any relevant material and that processes are followed in terms of recruitment.
And one wonders what criteria she has in order to be the best person at that job, other than donating a whopping £66,000 to the party in the past. What was her criteria? Why was she the best person for the job?
I don't know the individual in question, so I can't speak to her abilities. What I can say is that when there are processes in place across government around recruitment into departments, that all has to be signed off in line with rules, with regulation, and I'm confident that will have happened in that case.
It's good to see you as always. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.